Woo! This is awesome. I'm so glad we went. Didn't go to work. We'd be sitting there going, God, we should have gone fishing.
Welcome, everybody, to the Salty Yak Podcast, episode number 54, our first podcast of 2021.
Yeehaw.
Yeehaw. Where we talk saltwater, kayak fishing, and try to help you catch more redfish, more flounder, and even some of those slimy, nasty little old trout. So, with me today, we have again, Roger Wikipedia Collins.
Hey, everybody.
And to my right, we have Robert. I'm the graceful one, Akala.
That's me.
Hey.
Hello.
Welcome, everybody. How y'all doing?
Good.
I know y'all are doing good. We just had dinner together.
Yes, we did.
Had to go and get them lubricated before the podcast. Mm-hmm. So this ought to be pretty good.
That's right. Amen juice.
So do we have a show for you today? We have a virtual overflowing cornucopia of fishing topics with a whole menagerie of fishing info for y'all today.
That's a mouthful.
Y'all were reading it and going, is this like, we will be able to get this done in an hour?
He pulled out his 50-cent words, too.
Yes, he did.
You like those?
I
kind of thought about that.
I do. I like those.
I kind of thought about that. So, what do we have for you today? I am glad you asked. So, we're going to we'll start with our low water fishing trip that we took. Well, at least two of us out of the three in the room took.
Yeah.
And we're going to kind of, what we learned. We were going to phone a friend, but our friend can't be phoned. He's feeling a little under the weather. We're talking about 2020 year in review, just kind of, just the highlights, what you learned, what, just, what happened, what did you learn, and what do you hope to go for from there? Go for. Yeah. What's 21 looking for, like for you? I have your FTU Green Rod review. Got it for Christmas. I've fished with it like 4 times now, so we'll give you my honest opinion on the FTU Green Rod. This was a question that I came up with the other day. Rod or reel? Which one is more important? Have a little talk about that. And can you really fix a broken rod? We're going to phone a friend on that one because, hey, none of us in this room are, rod builders or rod experts. Roger might be an expert, but he's not a rod builder. So we're going to find out, can you really fix your broken rod? We have our first ever mystery guest on this one. Dun, dun, dun.
All right.
And we got some listener questions we're going to answer, and then we're going to finish it out with some Salty Yak news. So let's start off with the 2020 year in review. And I'll go first and give you all a minute to kind of think about this stuff. And so we're going to talk about personal observations of what sticks out over the 2020 fishing season is what we're going to talk about. First thing, I caught more flounder in 2020 than I did in 2019 for sure. I caught, my redfish hole in 2019 that I caught 17 redfish in one day, did not pan out for 2020. Did not have a good, I never replicated that in 2020. The best day I might have caught a couple there, which was kind of odd to me. And we had an awesome, probably the best Matagorda Island trip that we've ever had, I've ever had.
That was fun.
I actually was going back through, I've got a spiral notebook. I was going back and looking through and found my 2020 goals from when we did the podcast last year. One of my goals was to fish some new lures, the Hunchback and a Gold Spoon. I did neither. I haven't bought a Hunchback, and I haven't thrown it. I don't think I threw a Gold Spoon all year long.
No, I do have a goal like that for this year, but we'll get to that in a
So
bit.
yeah, you're next. Tying a new knot. I wanted to learn how to tie the loop knot. I achieved that goal. I can tie a loop knot now. To be a mentor to somebody, I feel like I've done pretty good at doing that. And pick up more trash in the marsh. I've done some of that. I need to do more of that.
We all need to do more.
We all do.
We all need to do more of that. So that's kind of my 2020 year in review. Roger, what you got?
Well, overall, I had one of my more successful years. It's my most successful kayak year for sure.
I wonder why.
Well, I mean,
How long you had a kayak?
well, this is my second kayak.
Oh,
I
that's
bought-
right.
How long you had a Hobie?
He's,
This is
he's
a-
OG. He had like kayak before it's cool.
Okay.
I had a Heritage Fisher Pro I bought it in 2009.
Okay.
Didn't do a whole lot of saltwater, but I did some freshwater fishing in it. It was a little bit unstable, shall we say. It was very narrow, very fast, but very narrow. But this was by far my most successful kayak year, and I'm really not missing my motorboat right now, to be perfectly honest. So much easier, so much less hassle. There's no comparison. Now, yeah, I can't travel the distances that I used to once travel, but if you pick your spots carefully and you pay attention to what's going on, you don't have to. And as far as my my success this year, I had a great time, man. I caught a lot of redfish. I never really targeted flounder. They were always bycatch for me, except for usually like in October, November, I would target them. But this year, man, the flounder have been incredible
All year long.
I really, really hope that carries on into 2021 because I enjoy that. I don't keep a whole lot of them. I don't think I've ever kept more than 3 in one day because I don't need that many, and I don't want to see it go back to the way it was. But I'm enjoying the heck out of the newfound flounder population, and it's the one fish that I can cook at home that my wife will eat with me. She won't eat the rest of them.
Yeah, I don't know what it was, but we seem to be on them almost all year long.
I'm wondering if the regulations that kicked in, and maybe maybe there's some environmental factors too, but the new regulations, I'm hoping that they have the desired effect, and we start catching more of them like that.
We should.
Because I really enjoyed it.
Going forward, we should.
Hopefully, but
Yeah.
anyway,
Now, my goal for this coming up year is I would like to get in to using more corkies. I'm seeing a lot of people catching fish on corkies. I have not fished a corky. I've fished Catch 2000s, which are a hard bait version, kind of a corky, and I've caught some very big trout on those over Hannah's Reef over the years. And I don't think I threw. Yeah, I take that back. I threw a Catch 2000 at Pack, and I did catch fish on it. Nothing big, but the numbers over there were such that you were always going to, just about anything you would throw, you're going to catch something. So I did catch fish there, but I didn't use it in the Galveston, Freeport, Matagorda area. And we just have bigger trout over here than they do over
no
there.
doubt.
So I'd like to get me a couple of corkies and see if my trout sizes go up a little bit, or if just what they do in comparison with our magic baits and our normal jigs and things like that. See if there's any difference, or if the better quality trout and or redfish are eating the corkies as opposed to the smaller jigs.
Got anything else about 2020?
I think I'll give it over to Robert at this point.
What you got there, Robert?
Yeah, I gotta think, just looking back on the whole year, and like you talked about on the last podcast, getting out probably 50 plus days on the year. I mean, you can't complain about that, but the Matagorda trip stands out in my mind. That was a blast.
Yeah, the first trip we didn't catch half as many fish as we caught that trip.
Yeah, I just, just going out, going 10 miles out, nothing around you, not taking any entrees, not, just depending on what you're going to catch. I mean, it's a different mindset, I think. It's still fun, but it kind of gets serious when it gets late in the day and maybe you don't have enough fish for all 3 of you to eat.
Thank God you got somebody that can catch fish.
But, we did have cold beer, which was kind of cool, and I would incorporate that in our next trip as well.
Well, neither one, at least you and me, we could survive a day or two without it. We could miss a meal.
Yeah.
Mitchell.
I was worried about him. Yeah. We needed to catch fish for Mitchell, really, at the end of the day. But no, that was definitely a highlight. I like the fact that I got to try in a lot of different areas that I'd never tried before. Probably caught more fish this year than I ever have in a kayak, which is awesome. And so to me, it's just, all about getting better, learning more,
Caught your biggest redfish this year?
Caught my biggest redfish on a kayak. Yeah, which is awesome. Just like to Roger's point on the flounder, it just seemed like flounder were there all year long.
Yeah.
So hopefully this next year's the same, and as far as like goals for next year, Roger talks about the corky. I'd like to try the bugs. I for some reason, I don't have the confidence in the bugs bait. Like the click shrimp and all that stuff that you seem to do fine on. I don't know. I think it's just one of those things where I've got to just trust it and go with it. Instead of just going straight to the magic bait and, you know what I mean? I mean, the jigs with the paddle tails. I mean, that's, we're all very confident with those, but it'd be nice to learn to throw something else and trust in something
It's
else.
the same with me, because you hear and you see people catching, fish on a gold spoon. I've got 4 of them in my tackle box. I never throw it.
Well, in the gold spoon thing, I will throw a gold spoon when we go back to pack. Mm-hmm. It just seemed like that's probably the place. I mean, if you're going to work one, that's probably a good place to do it, and that's probably where it's going to work. It just seems more old school to me, but there's a reason why they still sell them. And so, but no, just want to keep fishing. One downer to last year, didn't get the opportunity to go offshore much. Aside from kayak fishing, although I got to do a lot more kayak fishing, but I think this next year, hopefully if things go the way they are, and like I said, starting tomorrow into Saturday, I'll do a little offshore fishing. So, looking forward to that too. So
yeah, he's not going in a kayak tomorrow or
for Wahoo. Not exactly.
They're going offshore to his buddy's boat. So good luck to you. I will be at work. Thank you very much.
No problem. I'll be working.
Yeah, I mentioned this probably a long time ago. So if you're a new listener, Robert is probably my most faithful fishing friend. I can text Robert almost at any time and say, "Hey, you want to go fishing tomorrow?" And he's down. Roger's a close second. The only reason he can't is because he's like me. He's got like a real job. He's got to work. Where maybe Robert doesn't. So y'all guys and gals, y'all just take a moment and just think about what worked for you in 2020 and think about what you'd like to try in 2021. So let's talk about our little fishing trip that me and you, Robert, we took a little fishing trip the other day with Kevin.
Yeah.
So we headed back to one of our favorite haunts over there out of Freeport. And we knew that the water was going to be low.
Very low.
But it was probably lower than I have ever seen it.
Yeah, it was.
So we took the advantage of that and went to an area that we have never fished before and to get a look at it. But we also wanted to try to go up in some of these little back lakes that were there. And me and Kevin tried, but it was not going to happen. So we got a good look at the front lake with all the oyster stuff sticking out of it. And then we went back to one of our regular fishing spots that wasn't too far away, and we couldn't go very far up in it.
No. And I think, you ventured probably further than both Kevin and I think, when it got to that. And, when I came up on you guys and Kevin was kind of coming back, I went, I'm going to go too.
I'm a little more adventurous.
Yes, you are.
I'll kind of go back there.
Yeah. I just don't like to work too hard sometimes. But
I got smarter and realized that, I didn't need to really push back that far. Right. So I turned around, and that was after I broke my drive.
Right.
So I had one fin for the rest of the day, which, a Hobie PA will pedal with one fin, and you could still catch fish pedaling with one fin. Mm-hmm. So that's what I did the rest of the day. But
it made us get into deeper water. That's the thing.
That was the thing.
I saw Kevin catch a nice sized trout in the river, and then so I hung with him a little bit. And then you came back out, went up, and all of a sudden started hooking into things. And then there was some serious potlicking going on after that.
So I had some knowledge that I shared with y'all.
Yeah.
Because good friends do that.
Right.
But the knowledge that I had was last year, about the same time, had pretty much the exact same conditions. And we had caught fish doing the exact same thing, which was fishing water probably 5 to 10 foot deep where there were some oyster. There's a drop off, and fishing the edge of that drop off with the oyster and just dragging the jig along. I was go back and watching my videos. Mm-hmm. And when I was like, reeling it and just kind of twitching it. When I stopped it and let it sit there for 1,000, 2 1,000, 3, when I went to pick it up again, that's when there was a fish.
Well, and the other thing I think that you get in your mind, and you got to be really patient when the water's colder. Maybe slow down a little bit. You know what I mean? On your retrieve. And I mean, things change. I mean, then it just was on then for all three of us. So
the conditions were a whole lot like they were last year when we went over there and caught fish. Like we probably caught more fish this time.
Oh yeah,
than we did last year at the same time.
They didn't seem too lethargic though.
No, they were not lethargic. Once they bit. If you go and you watch the YouTube channel, you hear me in jest talking about how lethargic these fish are and how they're not putting up a fight. And you could just hear the drag just peeling off as we were catching, we caught some 27 inchers,
nice slot reds.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Even the 18 inchers and stuff that we were catching were putting up a hell of a fight. So, and where we were fishing. So it's,
I like I said, the screensaver on my computer at work has a day where I was fishing the exact same spot and had the exact same experience.
Yep.
That spot is good. I mean, and that's the area. I think that's its hot time of the year. Anywhere.
I believe so.
But it's got to be cold. It's got to be cold, and that's when they go down there.
And that's the thing too. Just like we mentioned when we were talking earlier tonight, you can go back there a couple days later. And conditions change, but yeah.
So I have went there like in the summertime, and nothing, right? It just seems the water's got to be low, so they're not back in the marshes. I think they just go out there and hang out. And it's the closest, deepest water that's got some structure on it than towards the mouth of that bayou.
Well, so, I would say that it's got the temperature that they want. It's got it's got forage for them at the time, and going back in the marsh for them is going to be the same thing for you. It's so shallow. The shallower the water, the quicker it cools off.
Yeah, they don't want to go back there.
Well, and then they may be stuck back there in the lakes, but
there may be some back there.
You know what I mean? It's like not fun.
Yeah, of course, then the duck hunter running by in the airboat,
that don't help either.
20 miles an hour doesn't help either.
Yeah.
So Kevin went back 2 days later with his wife to the exact same spot in the boat, looking to cash in on some of these big redfish you were catching.
No, really, they're here.
Really, they're here. Yeah, exactly. So, but when he shows up, we've had about 3 inches of rain, and the river was running with a pretty fast current. And Kevin said the water clarity when we were there, maybe a foot. It wasn't bad.
Wasn't bad.
Maybe normal, what we call normal over there.
Average.
Yeah. Now, the first year that I ever did this, we had about 2 foot of visibility. And
it's exceptional.
Yeah, it was pretty nice and clear. But when Kevin went back 2 days later, he had like 2 inches. He said it just looked like muddy water. Of course, one, it's now the water's muddied up. 2, there's a lot of fresh water coming down that river. So the conditions changed. And the redfish either weren't biting or were not there. So one or the other. They caught 0 redfish after we caught all of those redfish just a couple days before that.
Right.
So and we preach this and we say it again and again. I could tell you where the spot is, but that doesn't matter. In saltwater, that doesn't matter.
Right.
Because it's the conditions. Because you could show up there the next day, conditions changed, and you've got to go find the fish. So, yeah, if the conditions are exactly the same, then yeah, maybe you could do something. But how often does that happen in saltwater?
And that's kind of the fun of it, though, too. I mean, would we really have any fun if we knew we could go to the exact same spot every time? And you know what I mean? You have to work.
It would be fun for a little while.
It would be. Okay, I take that back.
I'll enjoy that. But I'll take it.
But we got to put in the work, though.
But, we've talked about that, in freshwater, whether you've got some structure or something that's holding fish. Yes, that's a spot.
Yeah.
And yes, maybe there's some conditions that go along with that. But I can see where freshwater is a lot more of a spot than necessarily saltwater is.
Right.
Because, as somebody I've heard said before, fish got fins and they move. They move all the dang time. So, y'all get any more about the fishing trip? You weren't there, but
I
wasn't
wasn't
where we
there.
went.
But I will touch on my last fishing trip of the 2020, which was also, it was on the Bolivar side. I went down there. It was after Christmas.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, I was thinking of the tournament, but you've been down there since.
I went down there since. I did wade fishing instead, and because it was just me and my wife and my sister and her and my brother-in-law, And I did not have near the success that y'all did. I went and fished the bridge area, and I unfortunately, when I looked at the tide chart, I looked at the wrong day. So when I showed up, I thought it was going to be a falling tide. It wound up being the peak of a rising tide. And basically all I did was walk around the water for about 2 hours until it got dark and just throw. That was it. Didn't even get a bite.
Some arm practice?
Yeah, I just got some practice. Didn't even get a bite.
Yeah.
Nobody caught a fish. Nobody else that I saw in the area when I was going through there caught a fish. So my last one of 2020 was not that good, but I still had a good time. At least I was out there amongst them, and that's all you can do.
So, we talked about Christmas, So I got a Christmas gift. Mm-hmm. So we've all talked in, this is going to lead us into our other topic too, about broken fishing rods. I broke my Laguna that I had, my Liquid Series Laguna that I loved, that I bought it from a friend who had it sitting in the corner of his garage because he won it in a raffle and he was not a fisherman. I bought it from him. I loved that rod. I broke it in half. And so I was looking for a new rod. And I had heard about the FTU Green Rod. And when I first heard about it, I heard it put out there as an affordable rod for anglers. I guess we all have different definitions of what's affordable. Yep. So the first time I walked into FTU, I had sticker shock. I looked at this rod that was, $260 for a rod. And I have never, ever paid that much for a fishing rod. The Laguna, I think, was worth more than $100, but I gave the guy $100 for it. So I was a little bit of a sticker shock that, is an affordable, I know there's guys out there that, that's no big deal to them, but to me, that's a pretty big deal for $260 for a rod.
Me too.
So,
Me too.
After I broke the Laguna, I was able to get my beautiful, wonderful wife to buy me a green rod for Christmas. And so I got a green rod with the titanium reflex rod or eyes on it. And so I have fished it for about the last 4 fishing trips. So I'm going to give you my honest, what I like about the rod and what I don't like about the rod. We don't have any sponsors here on the Salty Yak Podcast. It's not that we haven't had people come and offer, but if we don't use you, if we don't believe in you, we're not going to endorse you. So there you go. So when we talk about FTU here, that we're not endorsed by FTU yet.
But we like FTU.
We like FTU.
Okay, yeah.
We've talked about them a lot.
Absolutely.
And their wonderful kayak service down there.
No,
Nicholas
those are
Gibson
good
down
people.
there.
Good people.
Love them. But I'm just saying, so I love how light it is. I love the way it feels in my hand. Mostly, I love the sensitivity of it. You watch that last video, the beginning part of it, I was fishing with it because I was fishing an 1/8 ounce jig, not an 1/8 inch.
I don't know. You usually do 1/8 inches, 16th of an inch.
So
inches and ounces, they sound
yeah. So I was fishing an 1/8 ounce jig head. So that's a lighter rod. So, pairing your rod with the size of the lure that you're throwing.
I'll show you how that works someday, Roger.
Looking forward to it.
So I was using the green rod and loved it. Loved the sensitivity of it. Loved the way it felt. No problems. My only drawback to this rod, and my other rods might have it, but I don't notice it. So on the bottom of the reel seat, so we screw the little part of the rod down that holds the reel.
Uh-huh.
There is a groove that is cut vertically in the bottom of that reel seat.
Mm-hmm.
In the way I grip my reel, my middle finger lays on that groove, and it just rubs like a
blister.
Not that much.
Okay,
but just an abrasion on my finger.
And you're kind of sensitive.
I'm kind of a sensitive guy. I've got soft hands.
Yes, yeah.
So
Roger can attest.
So I have to alternate my grip just a little bit.
Just enough to bug you.
No, it doesn't really bug me. I've kind of gotten used to it now that I'm fishing with it. My original plan was to just take a piece of electrical tape and stick it over it so that it wouldn't rub on that edge.
What purpose does it serve?
I really don't know.
And there's not something on like the screw down thing that slides in there.
No.
Like catches it.
I
or
can show it to
something,
you
or-
later, but it's just a groove, a little 16th, not ounce, but inch, 16th of an inch groove, probably, maybe an eighth. That's right down the middle of it, through the grooves.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know, but it just rubs my finger just a little bit, just enough. Just I noticed it. Okay, but I absolutely, positively love the rod. Would I go drop $260 on it? If I didn't get it as a Christmas gift, I don't know. Because I'm sure there is some $100 rods, some $150 rods out there that would probably serve my purpose pretty well.
Mm-hmm.
So, 4.5 stars out of 5. If it didn't have a little groove on the back of it, that one little thing, then I could be okay with it. And it's just the way I hold the reel. If the way that y'all hold it might not even bother y'all at all.
Right.
But that's just me. So I'm giving it 4.5 stars. Would I go pay two? If I broke it today, would I go buy me another one? Probably. But here's probably the real reason why. I'm a little OCD in that green anodized handle of that Corrado DC matches that green rod really, really well.
Yeah.
If you notice the fishing videos, I have a FTU rod that's blue. It's the inshore series, and I have that SLX DCs, which has the blue accent pieces on it.
Isn't that a TFO?
It is a TFO, and I said, what did I say?
FTU.
TFO.
It's a TFO.
Yes.
I thought I said FTO, Field Training Officer. So no, TFO.
TFO.
Temple Fork Outfitters, which we're not sponsored by either, but we love
like
their
them
rods. But if you'll see, it's blue, and the accent pieces on the SLX DC are blue. Shimano, they want to sponsor us. We're good with that one too, because we already use your stuff and we love your stuff.
Oh, yes.
Just saying. Maybe I'm a little OCD. So would I have another one? Probably. But am I going to have my whole outfit? Probably not.
Yeah.
So, just my thoughts on the green rod. Yeah. So, which brings us to the broken rod. And this is a thought that I had the other day. Because I'm not talking about breaking the tip off. If you break the tip of it off, you can go get your new tip and put it on, and that's not going to change. It's going to change the length of the rod. Probably not going to change the action a whole lot.
Not much.
If we're talking about just the tip.
Yeah.
Just the tip. Probably not. But I broke this one I didn't break it in half, but it was pretty damn close in half. So can you fix a rod like that?
I don't know, Raj.
I'll tell you what.
I'm saying no.
You're saying no?
Because I've never seen it done before, but
Yeah.
I'm not the most knowledgeable person.
I'm
in the world
not
about
either.
that.
Do we know anybody, Carrie?
But that far down would be.
Maybe we know somebody.
Hey, Carrie.
Hey, Mitchell, how's it going?
Doing good?
You are on the podcast, buddy.
Awesome.
So
I'm happy to hear.
You're happy to hear what? You happy to be here?
Yeah.
Okay. How is New Orleans? I did not realize you had already made the move.
Man, it's a different world over here. It's really cool, but it's very marshy everywhere.
Did you take the kayak?
Not just on the highway. Actually, I have not brought the kayak. I'm coming back this weekend to go grab it.
Okay. You got plenty of places around there you can go fishing, and hopefully we'll see you in pack when we go down there. Mm-hmm. Oh, but you're only doing 6 months in New Orleans, right?
I'm only doing 6 months, but I've already put it on the calendar to be in pack, I think, early March, right?
Actually, no, our pack is in October.
Yeah.
Yeah.
March,
we were talking about maybe going to Calcasieu. So we'll keep you posted on that one. So you are our rod builder that we know. You've been building rods for 8 or 9 years, correct?
Yes, sir.
And you're also an engineer by trade, correct?
That is correct.
And you're also, I would say, a boat builder, but how's the skiff coming along?
Man, so when I was getting to the part where I was going to foam it,
put
all the inside stuff in, put the drain tubes in, get the deck on, they sent me to California for a couple weeks. And that put it on pause because I was really ready to hit it hard. I had all the supplies ready.
Yeah.
And then they brought me home early before Christmas and said, well, you're going to New Orleans. So that boat got put in storage and has not made any progress since late summer.
Well, all I can say, you're the only guy I know that would tackle the project of building your own poling skiff. So kudos to you. So for a little quick background here for our new listeners that are listening to the podcast, we met Mitchell blind, cold, never seen us before. He went with me and Robert on the Matagorda trip this year, or this last 2020. And he said he wanted to, he was a Salty Yak Pack member. He said he wanted to go. So he met these two old guys down in Port O'Connor and went and spent, 2 nights with them out on Matagorda Island, that he'd never met before. So I guess that turned out all right.
And that was one of the most fun fishing trips I've had in a long time.
Stop it.
Fishing was, you say it wasn't that great, but that fishing was phenomenal.
It was awesome.
So we have Robert here in the room with us, and also our buddy Roger Collins is here with us. So the question before us is, because none of us are rod experts, if I break a rod, not talking about breaking the tip off, if I break a rod, in a third or in half, can I repair it? Can it be fixed?
So I'll start with making an analogy, kind of.
Okay.
The frame of a truck is similar to the blank of a rod.
Okay.
It's the backbone of what makes the truck and the rod the rod.
Okay.
If you wreck a truck a little bit, you can fix it. Minor stuff. And at a certain point, it's totaled. So when you talk about the action of a rod being mod fast, extra fast, it talks about where the most delicate part of the rod is. And if you break that within reason, you can fix it. But if you completely total it and you wreck it outside the action, outside of the part where it bends on the tip, you really should not fix it.
Okay.
You should really just try to get the rods with the warranty, and hopefully depend on that warranty and just spill out a few more dollars and get a new rod.
Okay. So breaking a tip, no problem. We can put a new tip on it. And will it affect the action, any of it? If I just, we're saying within, Roger slams it in the car door and breaks 3 inches off the tip of it.
Well, there's a certain limit where it gets kind of funky. So if you have an extra fast bass rod, if you break that tip, that action will never even be close to the same.
Okay.
And extra fast means the rod flexes in the last maybe 16th to an 1/8 of the portion of the rod. So really, they don't bend that much.
Okay.
If we're talking about a moderate action for like real slow crankbaits, I guess plastics rods is what would probably relate to kayak fishing. There 3 inches is where it's going to turn into an extra fast, but you can still make it work.
Okay. So it would probably affect the action of the rod a little bit.
Yes, it will.
So,
400% sure.
So no matter if I break a rod and it can be fixed, it's never going to be the same.
If you break the butt of a rod, though, that can be fixed. You can. It's definitely. It better be a pretty high-end rod to want to fix it. But usually those high-end rod manufacturers are going to give you a warranty. And like, for example, I know Laguna, I've built off a lot of their blanks. Like they have a lattice stick that's a lighter action, mod fast, I think 6'9" rod. It's a great rod, and you can chop up to about 3 inches off it before it becomes what I would say like a corky rod, where it's a little faster, but still has that lighter backbone.
Okay.
But really anything past 3 inches is you can't really do much with that. Yeah. If you break a split grip though in the middle, you can splice that. Doesn't affect the action. Won't look as good, but you can make it work.
So breaking my Laguna rod in half.
Tell him to buy a new one, Mitchell.
I'm just done. Can I take the eyes off of it and reuse those on a different rod?
Yeah. What they'll probably do is they'll pull the eyes off it and the tip top, and they'll probably charge you. I think when I broke one that I had built, they were good enough to say, "Hey, give me $50. We'll give you a new blank, and you can rebuild it. We'll give you all the parts." They were good about that, but I think if you break half of it, just go back and get another.
It was my neglect. I mean, it was my fault. And this was a used rod that I bought from another gentleman who won it in a raffle. So I didn't even try to go back to Laguna and say, hey, because I didn't feel like I was the original purchaser. So I was like, there you go.
Yeah, well, if you would have called me a couple months ago, I could have hopefully gotten a couple Laguna blanks for you and gotten it fixed and gotten you a custom version. But
where you going? Where you going? Huh? Never mind. Robert's leaving the room. I thought he had a bigger bladder than that. I guess I was wrong. So, anyway. So, yeah, I wish I've never had a custom rod built. And I know that our friend Kevin is getting, his wife got him a gift card so that he could get like any rod built at Fish Sticks. So I'll have to get with you when you get back this way. Well, or next time we're hanging out fishing, we'll have to talk about it because I'd be interested in that, I believe.
Getting a rod built or starting rod building?
I do not want to start rod building.
That is my biggest recommendation ever. I thought I'd do it to save some money.
Mm-hmm.
And then you start looking at, oh, well, these rods are $300. I'll make them for $200. And you feel like you win, but you end up spending too much money.
Yeah, right.
I've built, I think, 5 rods this year just thinking, I'll save some money.
Mitchell, I appreciate you coming on the podcast and talking fishing rods with us.
Of course, anytime.
All right, well, send us some pictures of some redfish from Louisiana. So with one call, we're going to go to our next call, our first ever mystery guest. Who would it be?
Dun, dun, dun.
Who could it be? It could be anybody in the Salty Yak Pack that has agreed. Not anybody, just because you're in the Salty Yak Pack, doesn't mean you'll get the call, because you've got to like send me an email with your phone number going, hey, I want to be on the mystery guest list. So this is somebody who has agreed to come on and have a little chat with us. So let's see if he answers the phone. Three rings.
Hello, it's Guillermo.
Hey, Gigi, it's Carrie.
Hey, Carrie, how are you?
I'm good, and you are on the podcast.
Oh, awesome.
You are
Thanks for calling me.
You are our first mystery guest.
All right.
All right. You ready
Let's
for
see how I do.
Let's see how you do.
It comes with the trophy.
Yeah, well, it's not much of a trophy. It's kind of like the one you get for being the greatest kayak angler ever. So
Exactly.
So, Gigi, how long you been kayak fishing?
Not long, actually. I started last summer, around maybe early May. I had been on a kayak a few times before. I had rented a kayak maybe 5 years ago. Went out a couple times, but seriously, on a more regular basis, not just until about 6 months ago.
Yeah. You are one of the only Salty Yak Pack members that has came and fished every Salty Yak Pack event that we've had.
Yeah, actually,
we've only had 3, but you've been at all 3 of them.
Yeah, when I was trying to remember when I started, that first outing that we had at one of the bays, to be honest with you, I had no clue what the hell I was doing. I was just going with the crowd, you know. Well, it was a great excuse to get out there.
Well, that's
I
that's
learned
okay.
a lot that day.
You just get out and hang around with other guys and girls and learn how to learn what's going on. Great way to learn.
Definitely.
So, what kind of kayak do you have?
Yeah, so I bought a used Hobie Outback.
Mm-hmm. Doesn't look used. Look pretty new.
Well, let me tell you a very, very quick story. I bought a 2018 at the time in May.
Mm-hmm.
And then I had a great opportunity to upgrade to a 2020 a couple months after that. So I really love it. The updated layout on that new Outback is really nice. I like all the space that they added and the the storage, etc. So yeah, that's what I'm using right now, a 2020 Outback.
So, the dog can stay in here. She found her way in. So just leave the door open. She'll come and go as she pleases. So the things that happen when you're recording a podcast, the dog comes in. You hear the thumping on the wall. That's her tail.
All right.
Gigi's a tall fellow. He's not a short guy, and you can make that Outback like just really, dog. You can make that Outback like cruise, like it's just effortlessly, and you go zipping past. So that's one of the reasons why I like this newer layout that they have, because I was honestly considering moving up to a Pro Angler for the added space, but now this one has some additional space that I really like on the deck. Yeah, they did a lot of good innovations on that one. So tell us, what is your favorite bait? You said you're kind of new to kayak fishing. So what's your favorite, when I say bait, I'm going to say, you got to just stick with a lure here.
Yes. So I only know how to use paddle tails. I've only used soft plastics. I don't know if I could say brands.
That's because we're not sponsored by anybody. Okay. So if it works for you, we're all about, whatever works for you. You can say whatever you want to.
Yeah, so I started using a lot of down south lures. I really like them. And then had caught my first keeper redfish on a down south Texas roach. And I fished that lure a lot. And then recently I switched over to Slayer based on the Salty Yak being so popular. I've been using Slayer for probably 80% of the time that I'm out fishing. I use three of their main colors that I use are the Morning Glory.
I wonder why you use that.
Is that a good one?
Yeah, I wonder why. Right? The Gold Digger.
Yeah,
I really like that one, and the Tiger Bait.
Yeah, that's the Gold Digger is the water's a little clear. I like that one, and
definitely.
And if it's something in between, Morning Glory color for the water or clear water, then I'm throwing the Tiger Bait. I love that Tiger Bait. So I like the chartreuse tail. Robert likes it.
I like the Bloody Mary, even without the chartreuse.
Yeah. Well, Bloody Mary is the same thing without the chartreuse tail. Right. So yeah. So
okay.
So you haven't. So you're telling me you don't know how to catch fish on anything other than a paddle tail.
So I have used some topwaters, and I've caught some nice fish on them.
Yeah,
but I don't use them as often as I would use the paddle tails.
Yeah, that's fair. That's same with me, because it's usually conditions have got to be right before I want to use the topwater.
Definitely.
So
yes. I also recently, because of the winter and the trying to catch some nice trout, I bought a few of the corkies.
No.
But
really?
I really don't have a clue on how to use them.
So the three of us sitting in this room, I've never caught anything on a corky.
I've got probably 4 or 5 of them in my box, and I've never caught
Roger.
I have not used a corky yet, and
so
we just discussed earlier in this podcast that's something that it's one of my goals for this coming year in 2020 is to use the corky, learn how to operate it, and see what the difference is between the quality of fish that you catch on a corky as opposed to the paddle tails.
So you know what we ought to do.
Yeah, I know exactly what you should do.
What?
And we've talked about it before about we have a tournament where everybody uses the same. You know what I mean? Whether it's a corky, a paddle tail, a bugs, whatever, right? That would be fun.
A one lure
tournament.
Interesting.
That'd be interesting. Yep.
We're all kind of in the same boat there. We like to fish them. We own. I don't know.
I've got
Roger,
them.
I don't have any corkies.
I've got them.
I've got them. I had one. I actually tied one on the other day, but didn't try it. So, Gigi, close us up.
All it will take is catching that one nice fish to want to stick to them, right?
Yeah. Once you start building your confidence in, like I fish some mirror lures, but I usually fish those when I fish at night, generally.
Mhm.
So, Gigi, close us out here with your most memorable day kayak fishing.
Oh yeah, definitely. So it's gonna be the day I caught my first Texas swim.
Where was don't give us.
It was in November.
November of 2020.
Yes.
Okay, just kind of give us what kind of area were you fishing? Because I don't want you to give away your secret fishing spot.
Yeah. So it was
In the water.
basically yeah, on the water. It was an area with a bay, of course, a bay, right? And it has a bunch of drains and a few back lakes.
Mhm.
But I caught those. I caught the trout. It was all luck. I never consistently can catch trout.
Yeah.
To me, I said that was a lucky catch. But then the redfish, I was able to side cast it.
Cool.
And then that day, none of us had caught any flounder. But I'm like, man, it'd be nice if I catch a flounder. So I started sticking to what I knew as far as where I could target one.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, I fished a little cove, and bam, I caught it. And that was definitely a memorable day.
All on the same lure?
I'm not going to lie to you. All caught on the same lure on the gold digger.
Oh, there you go, the gold digger. Okay.
Without even changing that same lure, without even retying.
Oh, well, there you go. Yeah, I was just thinking if you caught it all on the same color or something like that. But if you caught them on the same lure, that's pretty cool.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Same lure, same everything. That was cool. Yeah.
Gigi, thank you for coming on and being our first mystery guest ever. See, wasn't that hard, was it?
Oh no, this is very enjoyable actually.
All right. Well, so tomorrow morning when you're driving to work, provided I can get this podcast put out tonight, you can listen to yourself on the radio tomorrow.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting. I've never really heard my voice recorded.
All right. We'll talk to you later, Gigi.
See you, Gigi.
All right. Thanks a lot, guys. Have a great one.
Hey, bye.
Take care.
Bye.
All right. That is our Salty Yak Pack member, first ever mystery guest, Guillermo Gonzalez. We just call him Gigi it's kind of easier and short, and I don't have to work on my Spanish. So moving on. And actually, this first question we're going to talk about came from Gigi. So we've got some listener questions. And his question was, can you talk about kayak anchors? So just kind of, and this is kind of what I threw together here when I got to thinking about the different kind of kayak anchors that we use and kind of what's out there and what's the pluses and the minuses of them. Because if we get new people listening to the podcast, new kayakers, or if you got a kayak for Christmas and you're just finding the podcast, whatever. So first one was probably one that we all use the most, and it's just a stakeout pole. And that's nothing more than some type of pole that you can stick in the ground, you can stick in the bottom, and that you're tethered to that holds your kayak in one place. Now, you can get a way more sophisticated than that. My go-to is I have a Schedule 80 PVC pipe that I've cut a 45-degree angle on one end of it, and I glued a T-handle on the other end of it, and it's about 7 foot long. And then I just have a bungee cord that's tied to it that I can clip to my anchor trolley. And it works really well in shallow, muddy bottom is when it works really well.
Mm-hmm.
What are you using?
I'm using the same thing. The only thing with mine is, I hate to say this, mine's shorter than yours.
Well, we knew that.
But she said.
Yeah, but nonetheless, it works because normally the times that I'm going to anchor up, I'm going to be in less than 4 feet of water for the most part. But I mean, I've had a claw, a collapsible claw in the past.
We'll get to those.
Yeah,
we'll get to
but
those.
the stakeout poles, that's been fine.
And that's what you're.
Yeah, anytime you're less than you're 4 feet or less, or even 5 feet or less water, that's the way to go. Unless you know that you're on something that you can't penetrate, really hard shell,
we'll get
or hard sand.
Yeah, I would say 4 foot of water because invariably it's 3 foot of mud, and you end up shoving the pole way down in it. So stakeout poles, cheap, easy to make. What I like about I'm gonna say it because I thought it. What I like about Robert's pole,
Wow,
is
all right
that it's solid. His is solid fiberglass. Now,
honey, are you listening to this?
Thank God neither one of our wives listens to this. So There is some commercial made ones, that are solid fiberglass poles.
Yeah, that's what I have.
Yeah. So so you can find those out there. The biggest problem is shipping usually on something that's 7 or 8 foot long.
And they're not cheap.
And they're,
you know what I mean?
It'd be 40, 50 or
more.
Or 100,
yes.
depending on which ones you're looking
Right.
at. But I do like that solid fiberglass pole.
It's nice.
Because eventually
I do have a nice pole, Roger.
Well, I mean, it's
Moving
been
on.
broadcast now. I mean, everybody knows.
But just like you said, if it's an oyster, you may or may not be able to punch through that oyster
Right.
and get it down in there.
Yep.
So the other problem, which the very first trip to Matagorda that I found was a hard sand bottom. I would have never thought that I couldn't stick that stakeout pole in sand.
Yep.
But you can. You cannot. So that's if you're fishing sand all the time or, deep water all the time, stakeout poles are really not going to work for you. But for the marsh fishing, excellent.
Works.
Yeah.
Excellent.
It's the easiest one to carry around with you. It's the best all around for that environment.
So we'll talk about the grapple style or the hook style.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm going to throw in here the improvise, which is, I have these two, which is nothing more than a 5-pound weightlifting weight. So they work really good on that hard sand bottom.
Yep.
Because you could chuck them out there. Even I've got the round circular 5-pound lift, that you put on a barbell. It might not, if the wind's blowing hard, it might not totally,
right.
But you could have a real slow drift.
Sure.
So it still works. If you watch some of those, if you watch the Matagorda Island video, you see when I catch fish, I just toss it overboard. So it works pretty well for that. You need a grappling style anchor if you're going to go BTB. You've got to have something that you can put out on the line because stakeout pole ain't going to work. And I'm not going to use a 5-pound, circular weightlifting weight that's just going to drag along the bottom. You need something that's going to dig into the bottom. Mm-hmm. So you need that grapple or that claw type,
collapsible claw.
Yeah, on that for BTB.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. The one drawback to that collapsible one, if you're not using it in the right conditions, like in BTB, when you pull it up, it is a mess.
It does get clogged up.
If you're throwing it on a soft bottom,
right.
Like what we're fishing a lot of Freeport and some of Galveston, some of that stuff, and you've got a muddy bottom, well, you're going to have a big muddy kayak when you get done.
Yep. Now I have the old fashioned, mushroom looking weight that most people had when they had a John boat or something like that, and it's good. It's not as good as the grappler if you're getting into the deeper water, but it does have that little raised lip around the edge. So if you do start to drift a little bit, it'll tip over onto its side and it tries to dig in a little bit. It's still not going to keep you, but it will slow down your drift as opposed to just the 5-pound flat weight. But the only reason, it wasn't that I was thinking of that when I used it, and when I have used it just because I had it already at the house. Yeah. And I said, well, I'm going to take this out of the John boat and I'm going to put it over here and put the rope on it, and there we go.
Yeah, it works. Just, you have to you kind of like doing the whole mop bucket thing where you're trying to wash it off before you put it back in the kayak.
Yep.
And they're not that expensive.
No.
I mean, like the little 5-pound circular weight that I use, I bought them at Walmart. They're not that expensive. No. Now, they're metal and salt water. So eventually, they're not going to last forever. But hey, for whatever I paid for them, it wasn't much.
Right.
So, and you can buy, I've seen people use like those rubber coated, like the dumbbell ones. Mm-hmm. I've seen them use those and just tie onto them and chuck them off. So that works. So stakeout poles, if you're making it yourself through PVC pipe or whatever else, it's usually not that expensive. Your grapple anchor and stuff that you buy at Academy, or if you buy the weights at Walmart, not that expensive. So let's go to the opposite end. Micro power pole.
So now we're talking money.
Yeah. So
and frustration,
and a lot of frustration from what I
understand. That's from what
right. So we've got a friend that has had a lot of problems with his, and I know several other people, but I know guys that absolutely love them. So let's talk number one negative. I don't know that I want to pay $1,000 for
expense.
Yeah, expense is a huge one on that one.
Isn't it more than that though? Or is it right around there once you add everything up?
If you're putting it on a Hobie Outback, that's already got the the platform for it, it's less.
Okay.
But if you're putting it on a PA like
you gotta
ours,
buy
you've
all
got
the
to buy the
mounting
mount,
gear.
which is
Yeah.
another $100-$150. And then now you can find them used for
I think Kevin's
600.
got one for sale.
Kevin actually put his on his boat.
Oh, okay.
So, but here's the reason why. So the plus on these, they work. So you got an 8-foot pole. So as long as it will stick in the bottom, if you're in that depth range, it works. And it works on all types of bottoms.
Yes.
It works on sand. It works on mud. It works on oyster. It works on all types of bottoms. If you're within that depth range, which most of the time, more kayak fishing, we are.
Yep.
But they're mechanical. We're putting them in salt water.
They're in salt water.
They're going to malfunction.
Yeah.
At some point. It's either going to fail or it's going to malfunction. I was looking for Kevin one day in the marsh, couldn't find him, and I get over there, and his power pole, he put it down, and he could not get it to come back up. And he's in the middle of this bayou, a little back lake, and he's not wanting to get out of the kayak. He could got out of the kayak, but he'd have been waist deep in mud. So I had to come from behind him, unplug the battery, plug it back in, and it worked. But he was having some issues with it. So, and that's the same. He had that happen to him multiple times. So finally he put it on his boat where he doesn't have to get out of the boat to unplug it, or he can literally just manually pull it up. But what's on the back of your kayak, you can't do that.
No.
Yeah. I mean, not going down wouldn't be such an issue, but not being able to get it back up.
Yeah.
And that would be my fear on it, is if you get stuck down. I mean, you either have to get out of that boat into that marsh, or you have to have somebody there with you that can come around and help you out, because you just can't. It's almost impossible to turn, especially on Kevin's kayak. His is a little designed a little different. It's farther from where he's sitting to get back to the back of his kayak than it is for us.
Yeah. And, it's battery operated, so there's just another thing for it to go. But, there's people that love them. So those are, anybody got another type of anchor for kayaks you can think of? Those are the three that I could come up with. Because you're
no, that's the only three that I'm aware of.
Yeah.
I call it static, powered, and then stakeout pole.
Yeah. So stakeout pole, marsh works great. If you're fishing like open bays, reefs, BTB, it's not a bad thing to have that anchor that you can throw out. And then the power pole. Now, the one thing that you need to have if you're using, in my opinion here, is you need to have an anchor trolley. Because what an anchor trolley does, it's two pulleys. One's on the front of your kayak, one's on the back of the kayak. You have a piece of cord that runs all the way around 360, and in the middle of it, you have a D clip or something that you're able to attach to. And what that allows you to do is run your trolley or run your anchor to the front of the kayak, or run your anchor to the back of the kayak, depending upon wind and current and which way you want to fish.
Yep. And I can speak to this because I haven't got an anchor trolley yet. So I'm operating mine off my the H rails.
Just hooking it to the side of your H rails.
And it works okay.
Yeah.
Yep.
But it is not nearly as convenient, and I can't switch my position nearly as easily as I could if and I'm going to get one. I just haven't got it yet. But I'd actually have to unhook it sometimes because there's stops on that H rail that you can't go around. And if you're not positioned, the wind's coming out in a particular direction, you want to cast, and I'm trying to cast to this shoreline or this particular spot or this, this shell or this drain or whatever the case may be. The wind is always your enemy in a kayak.
No doubt.
It is absolutely your enemy. And if the wind's not blowing you in the direction that you want it to go, then it makes fishing very difficult. So you have to unattach or detach it, hook it up to the right spot so that the wind puts you in the right position. So
yeah, I'll take that back. I have one time with a pedal kayak, I like fishing into the wind because I can just ease forward or hold my position.
Yeah.
So
that's another way to
paddle kayak when it sucks.
Yeah.
Pretty much.
Yep.
This is the only drawback I could come up with the anchor trolley. And some guys are like, I've never drilled a hole in my kayak. Well, you know what, buddy? I've drilled a hole in a kayak. Yeah. Even in my buddy's kayaks.
Yes, you have.
fact, I think
I turned away when you did it online.
Yeah, you did. But we put the last anchor trolley that I had. We put on your kayak, so that's why Roger didn't have one because I don't have one to give you.
That's the way it goes.
That's the way it goes. But yeah, you have to drill 2 holes. You have to drill a hole in the front of the kayak for the front pulley, and a hole in the back of the kayak for the back pulley. At minimum 2 holes, and usually there's some little holders like halfway in between, so it kind of keeps the cord along the side of the kayak. So there are a couple more holes that you might have to drill.
Yeah, so
you drill them above the water line. Use some epoxy when you put the screws in. No problem. Done it before, Rogers. No big deal. I'll take care of you, buddy.
We got you.
Actually, I think mine already has the holes pre-drilled.
Yeah, I think it does.
Mine already pre-drilled. Just got to pop out the little grommets and go to town. I just haven't bought it yet.
Any more thoughts about anchors?
No.
I think that was the definitive work on anchors right there.
And you got to have one.
Yep.
You got
to have one.
Especially when you hook, like one thing I noticed, like, and you're real automatic about it. When you hook up, it's like automatic. You reach for that stakeout pole and you stick it, and you know what I mean? It's like all part of the process of bringing in a fish too sometimes to keep you in place.
Yeah, just like Roger had talked about, he backpedals.
Yeah,
or starts.
Yeah. Well, some of us can, some of us can't, depending on the model you have.
Well, you know, you weren't that good, so Santa Claus didn't bring you a new one.
2021's here, baby.
So nothing else on trolleys. So had this question too. With all this fresh water, we've had all this rain here in the last week. So all of that rain, all that fresh water's going downstream and hitting the coast right now. So where do you fish with all this influx of fresh water? So thoughts?
Yeah, you can still. I mean, stay out of the rivers. Obviously, the further north you go, the closer you get to the source of that water, that fresh water, the fewer fish you're going to find, or at least the fewer saltwater fish you're going to find. You're going to start running into catfish, and you're going to start running.
You'll find some fish, but just not maybe the right ones you're looking for.
You'll start running into more gar and maybe even a bass every once in a while. But once it's kind of diffused and it's gone out into the main bays, salt water is heavier than fresh water. So fresh water is going to stay on top. So if you can find the right depth, or if you can find the area of the bay that has deep enough water, there's still fish down there, and they'll still be active. Now they may not you may not set the world on fire like you would under normal circumstances, but you can still find fish, and it's going to vary from what the volume coming out is. I mean, if you've had a really bad storm and we've gotten like 8 or 10 inches, something like that, you might have to go all the way out to the jetties
or go bowling or something. I'm just right. I mean,
you might have to find another thing. But we had a pretty good rain the other day, and most of the rivers right now are up. Some of them even approaching flood stage.
Yeah, but they're not. We've seen them a lot worse. I mean, we've
a whole lot worse.
We'll talk about this here in a minute, but checking the salinity levels. When we had those flood stages, there's fresh water going out the jetties, or fresher water going out the jetties. We don't have that right now, but we still have a pretty good influx, and certainly in places, of this fresh water. So continue with your thought. I'm sorry.
But anyway, the rule of thumb is if you can find water that's 5 to 8 feet deep on the mid-bay reefs or channels that go around the islands and stuff like that, where the current typically flows, you'll find fish in those spots, because down at the bottom, in the last 2, 3, 4 feet of water, just depending on how much fresh you got coming in, that's where they're going to be. I mean, you're not going to set them on fire by throwing topwaters or something like that, because the fish aren't up there. Redfish are pretty freshwater tolerant. Trout are a little less. Yeah. So they're going to be down lower. But I mean, that you can catch redfish and they can stock them in a lake, and
they don't necessarily like the muddy water.
No, they don't.
Yeah,
and they also looking for a certain temperature range. Whatever that is, I don't know, but you're going to want to start fishing in 4 foot of water or deeper when you've got that top layer of fresh water.
So a couple things for y'all guys that are listening out there. So with all of this fresh water, if you're going to go fishing this weekend in the Freeport, Matagorda, Sabine, Galveston area, stay away from the rivers. So closer to the jetty, because that salt water's when the tide's coming in, it's getting flushed in there. So if you go to tideandcurrents.noaa.gov, you can actually go and look at the salinity levels for every day. So I did. I went and looked at them. So if I was going to go fishing this weekend, West Galveston Bay looked good. It was a lot more salty than Trinity Bay. Actually, with the incoming tides, Bolivar, the places that we fished around Bolivar, looked just as good as West Bay did. Christmas Bay, Drum Bay. So when you look at these salinity levels, they don't show you the whole entire coast. They show you Sabine, they show you Galveston, and then they show Matagorda. And I didn't go any further south than that. Sabine, you got to get just close to the jetty to get saltier water. But, Christmas Bay, Drum Bay, Freeport area, not too bad as long as if you got close, the closer you got to that Brazos River, the worse it was. Yeah. Now, East Matagorda Bay was actually the saltiest out of all the places. The actual East Matagorda Bay, not the intercoastal, but the actual bay was the saltiest out of all of them. So
kind of surprised me, but okay.
Yeah, that's kind of it's science,
Yeah.
So
it's science.
That's if I was fishing, I would stay away from the river. And something else to think about is if especially if they're approaching flood stage and stuff, you don't want to be on that river. Just for safety's sake, you don't want to be on that river in a kayak trying to fish it. There's debris coming down, the current's fast. You don't want to be on it. So stay away.
Beyond the part about it being uncomfortable and difficult to fish, you have to worry about that because most of these rivers around here, you may not see it coming, but there's always some kind of debris coming down. I've seen whole trees.
And when y'all are going offshore this weekend, y'all there's a little ways as you're going offshore, you've got to really be careful because all of them trees and stuff, you find them floating out there.
Sure.
So you don't want to be running into them going full speed when you're going offshore either.
No.
So, any more on freshwater, saltwater fishing?
No.
Nope.
I think Roger covered it all, really.
All right, we'll kind of wrap this up with the Salty Yak news. This weekend, this Friday and Saturday, the FTU 2021 In-Store Boat Show. So, why is that interesting to us as kayakers? Because there's 10% off store-wide. Now, that's not saving you much more than sales tax, but that gives you a reason to go to FTU.
There you go.
And go buy you some stuff. So, we'll have to come back to that one. How did I miss that one? I write these notes out and everything, and I know how because we skipped over it when we went to Mitchell. So, anyway, 10% off store-wide gives you a reason to go to FTU. So, while you're at FTU, you might decide to buy a new rod or reel.
Right.
Which one is more important? So here's my question posed to you two gentlemen here in the room with me. So you got $200 in your pocket. Okay.
Okay.
Are you going to spend $50 on a reel and $150 on a rod?
I'm going to go the
or
other way.
$150 on the reel and $50 on the rod. Rod or reel? Which one's more important?
I'm going to go. I don't know. Because we've talked. I think the reel's more important. And maybe I don't know, and maybe it's just personal preference.
Why?
But, well, I mean, like if that breaks down, your day is done. But I guess if a rod snaps, your day is done too, right? But it just seems to me like that's like the moving mechanism that's got to be. I mean, it's got to be tight.
Which I guess what I'm So which one could be a lower quality and you still get the job done?
See, that's
if you're where you're going to spend your
both
money,
can be a lower quality and get the job done.
We can catch it with Walmart.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah. I
at some point that Walmart set up, the second trip out, the salt is eating the gears away, and you can't even cast the damn thing.
I'm not as worried about the rod as long as it's the right rod that I'm, for the fishing that I'm doing. Okay. So that's just my deal. So
he's a rod man. No, you're a real man. He's a real man.
He's a real man. R-E-E-L.
Yeah, I am a real man.
I'm going to go the other direction. I think the rod means more to what you're doing than the reel does. Now, go back to your question. You got $200. What are you going to spend?
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to do 1 and 1.
You do 100 and 100?
100 and 100.
Okay.
I didn't give you that option, though.
You're not following the rules, Roger. He didn't say that, but go ahead.
My point is this: a good quality rod that was designed for the purpose that you're going to use it is going to make a bigger difference than the reel does. Now you can there's a lot of quality reels out there that are $100 or less.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, my number one go-to is
well, maybe I should have said $100.
Well, it's like the concept origin. I mean, it was $100 and it's been great.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah, mine is the reel that I fish with primarily. The one that's the best casting reel that I got is $100 reel.
Yeah,
it's not I don't spend the $400 on the super high end DC this or Calcutta that or
your wife will just get you a new Hobie kayak. I get it. Go ahead.
But it has more of an effect on what you're doing. The reel, you could put 2 or 3 different reels on the same rod and get the same performance as far as casting, as far as action and stuff like that. Whereas if you take those same 3 reels and you put them on the wrong rod for those circumstances, you're not going to be able to cast as far. You're not going to get the action that you want, stuff like that. I believe that the reel, it has to be a decent reel. You can't go get the combo thing for $39.99 and put it on a $150 rod and expect it to work right. But you get a decent reel, which there's plenty of them out there that are not super expensive. Mm-hmm. But you put it on the right rod for what you're doing, and you're going to be successful. It's going to cast the way you want to. You're going to get the right action. You're going to be able to work the bait that you've chosen to use that day, and it's going to give it the greatest chance of catching fish and getting them into the boat.
See, I'm a real man.
I think you can go either way. But
and that's the whole point.
Yeah.
Here. You just got to. That's when I had this idea. I was like, so which one's more important? See, I like a reel that's not going to backlash on me. That has a smooth drive, good. Because to me, nothing like just gets me irritated more than a reel that doesn't. It's not smooth, or it's not performing the way that I want it to. A rod, I think hey, a rod's not a rod, but hey, I've caught many a fish off a $30 ugly stick.
Yeah, I mean, who hasn't caught fish off of ugly sticks? I mean,
what I mean? I still have an ugly
right,
stick.
I mean,
you will.
Well,
we weren't talking about
that's
that.
That's a whole nother segment.
Well, my ugly stick is 10 foot 6 inches, and it goes on my surf rod.
There you go.
Surf reel.
Okay.
I've got an ugly stick out here. It's one of my BTV rods.
Put it away.
So, let's kind of back up here. So, what would be a top end price for a rod for you?
Well, you know what? I tell you,
what would you like?
I probably wouldn't spend more than $200.
Okay, $200.
That's me too. Yeah.
$200 for a rod.
But what's kind of interesting though too is that I just bought that concept. It was $100. Mm-hmm. I bought that Bass Pro Shop 6.6 rod that's light that would I could throw a 16th ounce, you know what I mean, jig on.
Yeah.
And that was $120. So that was kind of following your thinking, and it's been great.
Yeah. So, So real wise,
though,
$100.
I might spend a couple $100. I mean, I've spent maybe 100, 180. I might move up and spend like $250. I might start moving up into that area.
Well, the older we get, and, the more disposable income we get.
Right.
There's some 25-year-olds that are listening to us going, if I had $50 to buy a rod and reel, get what you can afford.
Yeah.
As you get older, make more money, more disposable income, you get more toys.
Sure.
So that's all it is. So there is no right answer, right? It's just
I think
whatever.
it's a personal preference.
It's preference
issue. And the moral to the story is, though, don't buy crap.
Well,
exactly.
And I think
save your money and
right.
buy. Especially, this is a saltwater kayak fishing podcast. Save your money and buy some stuff that is going to last. Mm-hmm. Number 2, take care of it.
That's
absolutely
huge too.
Don't be the guy that just brings fishes all weekend and brings your rods home and throw them in the corner of the garage until the next trip.
No. Well, I think like Roger's mentioned before, I think you oil and tune them up after you come back.
Yeah,
So
that's one of the first things that I do.
Yeah.
And I was going to ask you this question. As soon as I get back, I take everything out. And sometimes I wait till the next day, depending on what time we get back.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm gonna rinse off my rods and reels, and I rinse from the top
to the bottom,
top down,
all the way to the bottom. Don't use high pressure,
right?
Gentle shower stuff is fine like that. And then once you've rinsed it off real good, and you feel like okay, I got all the salt off, then spray it with some Real Magic or some CRC or something like that, and let that get in and penetrate a little bit, and kick out any of the remaining water and any salt that might be left over. And you'll find that, it's not uncommon for my reels to last 10, 15 years. Mm-hmm. And like I said, the most expensive reel that I have was probably $170, $179. But most of my reels are in the $1 to $120 range.
Yep. So there you go. So save your money, buy good stuff, and take care of it.
Yeah.
That's our advice to all of y'all young men out there. Mm-hmm. So let's jump back to Salty Yak news. Okay. And we're running a little long here, so we're kind of going to run this down here for you. So we talked about the FTU in-store boat show, Galveston County Fishing Show, January 29th through 31st, down in Hitchcock. I believe it's going to be the Expo Center down there. You can go to gotfishexpo.com and get all the details about what days it's going to be, and because it's like Thursday through Sunday, but they have different hours. So go check that out. Sunday, February 7th. You know which somebody, actually I think it was Gigi, pointed out that's going to be Super Bowl Sunday. Mm-hmm. You know what? I don't care. I don't watch football. I don't care. So we actually already have 11 teams signed up. So if you're interested in that, you have to be a member of the Salty Yak Pack. We will be putting some more information up there on the Salty Yak Pack about, I say the rules, but this is just a friendly fishing tournament. But if you want to know more about it, I'll be putting some stuff up there the next few days. Go check it out there. That's on February 7th. That's Sunday. And on March 27th, we have the Saltwater Survival Series Redfish Tournament that we're all going to go fishing in. So that's Saturday, March 27th. Go check them out. And mark this on your calendar if you're down for an adventure. May 3rd through the 5th, the Salty Yak Pack Matagorda Island trip.
I got to do it.
So Roger wants to go too. So we're getting a pretty good group, and I'll have some more information on the Salty Yak Pack Facebook page about that as we get a little closer. So if you don't know what the Salty Yak Pack, if you're brand new, this is the first podcast you've ever heard. This is our little private group that we have. You have to answer 3 questions to get in there, and I actually changed one of them. So answer the 3 questions, and if you're interested in kayak fishing, even if you don't have a kayak, you can get into the group, because that's what we're here for. We're here to help you catch more fish and do it safely and have fun doing it. So be some more information about the Matagorda Island trip. And as always, thank you for tuning in and listening to the whole thing here. Us rant and rave for, coming on an hour and 20 minutes now. There was a little bit more we were talking about, but we'll save that for the next one. So, y'all guys and gals that are listening to the podcast, y'all are the smart ones. Y'all get all the inside information about what's going on, about the trips that we've done, where we're going, what we're doing. Y'all are the smart ones. And the one thing you can do for me, which is the best method of advertisement that's out there, is word of mouth. Just share this podcast with your fishing friends, and so we can get it out there, so we can get it to more people and help them out with their kayak fishing. Whether you're an old salt, whether you're new to this, if you like this podcast, I just ask if you would just share it with somebody else. So also, I have stickers. Somebody was messaging me the other day and was like, "Can I buy some stickers from you?" And I'm like, "No, send me your address and I'll mail them to you." I've got a pile of them here that I had made. It wasn't that expensive to have made, so I'm freely going to give them out. If you email me at thesaltyyak@gmail.com, if you email me, send me your address. I've got some 7-inch stickers, and they're like the ones that would go on, like, it'd fit good on the side of your Yeti mug or something like that. Then I have some 10-inch stickers that would go on the side of your kayak or maybe the back window of your truck or something like that. So if you're interested in some of those stickers, on the big ones, I have black and white ones. And the smaller ones, I have some red ones and some blue ones and black and white and that kind of thing. So send me your preference of a color, and I'll let you know what I have. Just email me. I'm glad to, I'll send everybody a couple. I'm not going to send you 20 of them, but I'll send everybody a couple that emails me and that wants them. And I'm not at a point where I think I want to. I'm just happy that you want to advertise for me. So and you want to get the name out there. So also, don't forget, go and check out the YouTube. I just put a new video up. Check us out on Facebook and Instagram. And as always, we just appreciate the heck out of y'all. Appreciate y'all coming and spending a little time with me and doing this.
Oh, great time.
My pleasure.
And I appreciate y'all tuning in and listening to us. So as we always say, we always close these things out, is wear your life jacket. There's somebody out there that loves you.
Bye.
Tight lines.
All right. We talk to y'all later.